Hi there, I'm Joshua Barella, worship director here at New Life Bible Fellowship. What a blessing it is to lead you in worship Sunday mornings. I've been asked to do this, and it's a gift to even have the opportunity. In my prompt, speaks of Genesis 3:15. God prophesies that Jesus will crush Satan, and we can be comforted that God has a plan, even when we can't see it or understand it. Many of you probably don't know this, but I served in the military, and it was a trying time in my life. I was confused as to where I was really and what I was trying to do. I was trying to discern God's message that He had for me. At the time, I was a young worship leader as well, so I went away to basic training. And those of you who have been in the military or know of it, know that basic training is a pretty rough cut time. So that was pretty brutal for me in many ways. I just got married not too long ago prior to this, and so again, my walk with Christ wasn't the strongest. And I remember one particular time where God showed up for me in a profound way. Let me just share a little background. We were able to go to church in basic. Every Sunday morning we had an opportunity to go to church or stay in the barracks and clean rifles or whatever. So I went to church often, and the pastor's I guess I would say chaplain, said, the power of prayer is powerful. And that struck me. So that week after that Sunday morning service, we had to go to the gun range, and I had to qualify on my weapon. I was very scared because I never handled a rifle before, and I never really wanted to, and I wasn't a good shot. So going out there, I knew I would struggle. And I was told if I didn't qualify, I would be recycled, which meant I would be sent to the next class after me, which would put me back 2 months. I'd be away from my bride for another 2 months. So putting myself back in those shoes, I remember the night prior to going to the gun range, I prayed to God ardently. I prayed to Him in the way that the chaplain had said in that Sunday morning service. Just pray from your heart. Pray like you mean it. And I prayed. In that following morning, I went to the gun range, and I didn't qualify. I didn't. And I was pretty choked up, pretty upset. I knew this would be hard to tell Lauren, my wife, through a letter. Had to mail her, and I wouldn't see her. But the drill sergeants, they all gather us up, those who failed to qualify, and said, hey, you're going to come back tomorrow. You have one more chance. That's it. We're going to give you guys one more chance. There's enough of you who are terrible shooters. They said it in not so many words. But so we were told to come back the next day. We came back the next day. And again, that night before going to the range, I prayed some more. And that night, I was on duty. I was on, I guess, CQ, I can't remember, guard duty, pretty much getting up for an hour or two in the middle of the night and just watching the bay, fire guard duty, that's what it was called. I remember sitting, and they had these red lights above the exit sign. So the bay was bathed in red light, and I remember sitting beneath this red light with my Bible, praying to God again. I said, I don't remember what I said exactly, but I was even more ardent in that, and I said, okay, well, I know you have a plan for me, and it's not for me to fail here tomorrow. And I remember I prayed for about the entire time of my shift, about 2 hours. There was some silence in there. There was some listening. There was prayer, just asking God not to keep me from my bride. And that following morning, I get out there, get onto my spot in the range, and I got to start firing. I start shooting. Targets don't fall, so I know I'm in trouble, and I know I'm not doing too good. And I get to the end of my rounds, and by the end of it, I'm pretty sure I failed again, so I'm crushed. But I get to the end, and my drill sergeant says, I don't know how you did it, Barella, but you qualified. And I looked at him, and I tell you, I about did a hop, skippity-doo, clicked my heels as much as I could do as a young soldier without getting slapped upside the head. Anyway, I get back to my formation, and there's another guy there. His name's Thor. That's his last name, Thorson. He comes up to me and says, Barella, I don't know what it was, but I heard while I was shooting, just heard, I kind of got this inkling to shoot in your direction of your targets. So he did. He shot the remainder of my targets, and they fell. Now, I didn't ask him to do that. He didn't know that I was failing. But, wow, if I had ever felt God's presence, it was then, in that miracle, because I was able to qualify in that range and not wait another 2 months to get home to see my bride. And that soldier who didn't really know me and had no business shooting my targets, could have been, kicked out of the military, really. Both of us could have, but nothing ever came of it. And I was able to, go home that day. And really, it wasn't anything of my own or his. It was God speaking through him and acting through that young soldier that day. So again, going back to Genesis 3:15, God has a plan even when we can't understand it. His plan that day was not to have me suffer, although I did a fair amount of that. I'll never forget that day. So, praise be to God. Amen.